Well, good afternoon, good morning. Thank you for joining us today for this IERG Global Leadership Series webinar. Great presentation, strategic use of artificial intelligence in business. And are you ready for this? Our presenter today is Jay Milligan, who is Chief Executive Officer at KPISOFT Americas. I've had the chance to speak with Jay a little bit about what he's doing, what his business is doing, and the whole idea of how to use the artificial intelligence strategically. So I think this is going to be a great presentation. I'm very excited for Jay to join us. So, and thank everybody for coming. We do have a pretty large group here today. So just so you know, everybody will be muted. There will be an opportunity at the end of the presentations for questions. So if there's anything, just hold those at the end and we'll have a chance to have a discussion directly with Jay. This event is also recorded, and this and the slides will be posted on the IERG website for those who want to access it later on. So anyway, thank you for joining us. We do have, I want to welcome all our existing IERG members, so thank you for coming. We also have a lot of guests today. We're always happy for you to come, and thank you. So I just want to take a minute and give you a little background of who we are. IERG is an organization that's based around international executives who have this common experience of living and doing business outside of their home country. And we come together to support each other in terms of our talents, our knowledge, our connections, and our experiences. That's what we are. Who we are, I think, is very exciting because we really are this very diverse and a rapidly growing group of people who are passionate about being internationalists. And we've made a conscious decision that that we are people of the world, and the idea of living or working or studying or traveling or experiencing the world around us is really identifies us, and it's kind of exciting, and I share that with you. So if you're interested in getting involved, this is a great group, and I find that there's people that I have nothing in common with from a business history point of view or from anything else, and yet we have great commonality in terms of our experiences around the world, around who we are and being an internationalist. So it's a great network, and if you're interested, please reach out, and we'd love to talk to you about you're becoming part of it. Before we go to today's presentations, I just want to make a few announcements. We do have, IERG is a volunteer organization, and for our members, we do post leadership positions on our website and in our newsletter, so keep aware. I encourage you to get involved, work with other people. It's how you build your network. It's how you can make a difference in a lot of things that we're doing. So get involved with that. The other thing, we do have a virtual chapter. We do have physical chapters around major cities around North America in particular, but we have a virtual chapter, and they have a meeting. The virtual chapter is really an opportunity for people who are not local to a physical chapter that want to get in and connect with people, and they have a growing group here. They have a meeting on March 28th at 12 noon Eastern time. They're going to focus on executives in transition, but this group does have content, but also has an opportunity for people to get together and network. And so if any of you are available, please, it's a great group. I encourage you to sign in and get involved with that. The other announcement I want to make is for those of you who may not be aware of the IERG Global Leadership Certification Program, and this is a 4-stage program where we provide certification for people who have achieved certain levels of expertise in terms of leadership, thought leadership, management in working in global and diverse cultural environments. And this is a great program. I encourage you to get involved with it, earn your credits, move up in terms of your certification, and get those put on your resume and use those for either business or whatever it is that'll help you open many doors. It's really a great program. Now, The last thing I want to say is just share with everybody this Global Leadership Webinar Series is one of the most popular programs we do have with IERG. We've been running it about 4 or 5 years from now. And this is an opportunity for us to bring in people who are thought leaders on topics of international business and share and discuss with our members. And so I encourage you, if you have a topic, that you want us to present, if you have a speaker or you want to speak, reach out, let us know, contact us, and we'd love to have you participate in that. Okay, enough about the background. Let's get into what we're here for, which is today's presentation, which is strategic use of artificial intelligence in business. And the idea is that Jay's going to share with us a lot about what's going on with the convergence of analytics with AI and how this is creating opportunities for companies who know how to use it. And this is not a technology presentation, I understand from Jay. We have a lot of young people who are great at the technology, but it's really going to help us understand how we can use this as executives to use AI to better our business and our opportunities both globally and personally. So Jay, here's Jay. I'd like to introduce Jay. Jay is Chief Executive Officer, as I said, for KPISOFT Americas, which is he's told me a little bit about this company. It's very exciting. It is an early stage company, but it's pretty exciting what they are doing. And it's a software technology company with a platform that's focused on AI. And they are helping use this to a lot of their big Fortune 500s as well as small emerging companies use this to improve that business performance. So it's very exciting. A little background here, Jay is a frequent speaker on the use of artificial intelligence and how businesses can leverage this to create new opportunities to move quicker, make better informed decisions, improve performance. He is a growth and turnaround executive and specializing in all size companies, both, as I said, the Fortune 500 as well as the small emerging companies. Prior to his current role, Jay served as Chief Revenue Officer for Stewart Title, which is a $2 billion plus public global title insurance and real estate services company. And his experience really crosses a lot of different sectors. So business services, real estate, financial, energy, and Jay's also a member of the National Association of Corporate Directors, and which is a great organization in terms of those who are interested in getting experience in serving on the board. So we have a great topic, a great presenter here. And Jay, thank you for joining us, and let me turn it over to you.
That's great, Steve. Thank you very much. And good morning and good afternoon to everyone on the call. Appreciate you taking the time out to listen to this presentation. So what I want to do real quickly is also apologize if in the event it happens. I'm in the New York City right now, so those of you that are either here or familiar, you can appreciate the outdoor noise. So hopefully we'll be blessed with a few sirens and other equipment, and you can hear me well. But what I'd like to do is probably spend the next 30 minutes or so and just kind of take you through a little bit of history and journey around AI, how it's being used right now by businesses, and a little bit about what we do at KPISOFT, and then hopefully some insights for you to take with you as you're thinking about how to evolve your companies and set your strategies and drive performance going forward. And so as I said, the agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about what AI is, impacts on the economy. As C-suite members, and I want to kind of reinforce what Steve said earlier, I'm not a techie, if you will. My background is been steeped in transformation and operations, like just about everyone on this call. So I think the perspective that will probably be best for all of us is to think about it from that seat. So I've kind of positioned this discussion in that way. We'll also talk about how AI is changing business, impacts on the job market, and that is particularly important right now, and then some myths around AI and hopefully we'll have time for some questions at the end. Real quickly, if you kind of think about what AI is, this is what you'd find on Google, what Webster would say, or Wikipedia, or something like that. So a lot of words, but I think I would reduce it down to this: the concept of what AI is, it's changed over time, and but at its core, it's always been this idea of building machines which are capable of thinking like humans. After all, we as humans have proven to be uniquely capable of interpreting the world around us and using the information that we pick up to affect change. So if we want to build machines to help us be more efficient, I think it only makes sense to use ourselves as a blueprint for that. As I said a little while ago, AI has been around for a while. Actually, it started in the 1950s. However, it's a buzzword today, and you're hearing it on TV, in the news, all over. But if you kind of think a little bit about this, you can see the evolution of AI over the years. To give you a couple of examples that are kind of we face every day. If you think about the United Postal Service, they deliver 500 million pieces of mail a day. 450 million of those pieces are sorted by computers, and only manually 10% are getting sorted. When you are on an airplane, this may be scary, I'm not sure, but really the pilot is only touching the plane manually for about 7 minutes. Of just about every flight that happens. So that's takeoff and landing. Instead, computers, machines are kind of driving what's going on with those planes. And as you can see here, with the evolution, it's gone from games to language processing to right now you're seeing a lot around autonomous cars and robots and things of that effect. When you think a lot about disruptive technologies, and I would say AI, clearly is a disruptive technology, you often see the introduction of these technologies in the B2C market. So all of us have cell phones, all of us use applications on there, whether you're using LinkedIn or Facebook or Waze or Uber or things of that effect. AI is driving a lot of the experience that you're having. And whether Spotify wants to create music for you, to Amazon suggesting things that you want to buy, to Netflix telling you what the next great movie is that you would probably like. This is all the machine doing that for you. What it's doing, though, that I think is particularly important is it's creating preferences. It's establishing preferences on how you behave, how you interact socially, and how you're using, for the most case, a mobile type application. Those preferences, as they continue to be further and further established, they start to drive behaviors. And I think what we're starting to see, and what we've learned at KPISOFT, is that those preferences are transcending down into the workforce. Some of them are generationally impacted, some of them are driven off of just kind of the digital environment that we all live in. But because those preferences are starting to be established, they're changing the way the workforce behaves and also the expectations that they want. So it's very important, as technology is continuing to evolve, as we are experiencing in our personal lives, it's transforming into our professional lives, and we need to pay attention to our culture, the way we behave and run our companies, and the experience, I'll call it the employee and customer experience that we want to create. So, as I said, AI has been around a lot, but the growth that we're seeing right now in investment in AI across the globe, it's quite exponential. From around 12 billion in investment in 2018, and you can see how it quickly is growing up to an anticipated or expected investment of around 231 billion by 2025. So clearly we're on the front end of this journey, but it has a lot of upside. The technology is continuously improving and evolving, and as a result, you'll see that companies will continue to invest faster and faster to incorporate that technology into their businesses and strategies. So AI for me is a pretty broad term. And so I thought it would be good to have this slide here to kind of show you that there's different spectrums, if you will, of AI, from perception to notification, suggestion, automation, prediction, prevention, and situational awareness. So when you're thinking about a lot of those B2C apps that I mentioned a couple of slides before, perception might be when you open your Uber app and it tells you where you're located and all the cars around you. Notifications could be someone connected with you on LinkedIn or something to that effect. And then suggestion might be connect with this person or possibly go this route on Waze or Google Maps or things like that. And so it moves up that continuum. To kind of give you an additional perspective, I like to often think about the levels or the maturity, if you will, of AI kind of being more around a hindsight, insight, foresight. So hindsight to me is more rear view mirror. This is what happened. Maybe this is why it happened. And we do that when we are looking at our monthly management reporting packages or whatever information you're getting generated internally to help you kind of understand how you performed. But I think where the real opportunity starts to come into play is if we can start looking forward and with some degree of confidence start predicting how we're going to perform, what we need to do in order to make the goals or the objectives that we want to get accomplished done. What are the things that we need to be aware of if we need to course correct in such a way to avoid more negative outcomes? Most of you are probably doing something with regards to business intelligence or BI. And typically it comes in reports or platforms or things that you're having. So oftentimes a lot of companies, and you can kind of look at this chart here, semantic-based platforms, rows, columns, Excel spreadsheets, if you will, kind of were introduced in the late 90s, and that's a great way to collect information and kind of be able to decipher it. But along around 2000, we started seeing more visual-based platforms. The technology became available, but I'll be frank with you, most companies have not moved as quickly as the technology has availed itself. So now we have visual-based platforms, much like Power BI or Tableau, for example, Domo, for example, to kind of show you information more visually. Where technology has evolved itself, and a lot of it has been through AI and machine learning, is this new notion of augmented analytics. And that's where frankly my company plays. And so what augmented analytics is, it's taking the same information, the data, and actually contextualizing it to tell you more about what you're actually looking at. More importantly, as the AI is applied, what to do with it. So if you think about all of us right now, if each one of us were handed the exact same dashboard, and maybe we've seen it before, maybe we haven't, but we were asked to interpret what that dashboard told us. My guess is, with a great degree of confidence, is that we wouldn't all come up with the same answer. It's a static dashboard. It's showing you some sort of numbers or trends or whatever, but to interpret it, it's a bit difficult. If I were to ask you to take it one step further and think about the role that you have, the organization that you work in, the industry that you play in and such, and how are you going to take that information and apply it to your business, I think that's where it gets difficult. Eyes probably glaze over a bit. and then the struggles to take that information and make it actionable becomes very, very hard. Big data has been a huge word that's been thrown around, or a term that's been thrown around for years, but I think what we've found is that the collection or the assimilation of lots and lots of data doesn't necessarily give us the information and the insights that we want. It's very important that we try to figure out ways to sort through the massive amount of data that's continuously growing at a very, very rapid pace, not only within your companies or your industries or your customers, but in the world itself, and decipher within that particular and specific insights that can help us drive and run our businesses. There's a recent study that was done. It was a combination of the executive board and Gartner around what the C-suite's looking for 2019. So this applies to all of us on this call. And the top 3 challenges and priorities, as you can kind of see, really fall on accountability, agility, and then the alignment of strategies and objectives and capabilities. To this point, I think you have to have a culture in your organization around accountability and transparency. As we all know, we've probably finished our 2019 budgeting at this point, but there's 9 more months left in the year, and anything can happen. Influences both internally and externally that may cause you to adjust your strategy and the alignment of the organization. And so trying to have a way to tether, if you will, from the top of the house all the way to the storefront, what the goals are, what the objectives are, how you're driving your business forward has been a constant challenge, and obviously reiterated here. Currently, a lot's going on with regards that businesses are using AI, and you can see here some examples, whether it's around security or production, reducing production management through automation, looking at more customer dynamics and thinking about that experience and understanding the customer more deeply so you can align yourself better. How to buy smarter, looking at ways to present and promote yourself in a way that is more appealing to your customers and to the marketplace. And then things like at the bottom, automating call distribution and kind of doing a little bit more of the routine tasks that you often see in your companies. What we've seen right now, where companies have largely gained with using AI and machine learning, a lot of it is kind of back to that data analysis we were just talking about, how to drive more insights. And I would probably take that and say actionable insights. Faster data analysis to allow you to be more proactive as opposed to reactive. Looking at improving the efficiency, for example, of your internal processes, as well as even improving the efficiency of your external processes. Cost reduction is there, and a lot of that comes through optimization, and I think that's important, but I think what we're seeing right now is there's greater value kind of putting forth in trying to get better information, better insights, and faster decision making. And lastly, you can see that 45% have gained more data analysis and insights from that. When we think about how businesses, and this was through a survey as well, through HBR and Deloitte, the benefits of AI, again, you're seeing a lot around enhancing features, functions, and performance of products. I would also say people as well. Optimizing those business operations, making better decisions. When you go into the R&D sector and you start thinking about gathering that information and can we create new products, can we create new channels, optimizing external processes, looking at markets and territory coverage. And then again, lastly, kind of reducing headcount through automation and optimization. The problem that we see, and particularly I've experienced in my roles in industry in the past, is we have a lot of information that's coming in to your organization, but unfortunately it's very siloed, largely due to disparate systems, but also sometimes because of different divisions or departments within an organization. If you were to look at this slide where it says strategy and people and operations, I would refer to that as more of a performance value stream. Corporate metrics are being defined and set at the top of the house. All of you on this phone are doing that on a daily basis. You use certain platforms to do that. They're usually your financial systems, your FP&A, and things of that effect. As you look down within your organization, you have operational performance of your business, and you're tracking lots of information there, whether it's customer, product, and internal information that's often sitting in those data warehouses and leveraged by BI systems and such, like Tableau or Power BI, as I mentioned earlier. But in the middle, you have the people. And I think that's what's most critical to this performance value chain. How does that strategy transcend down through the operations of the company and in effect impact the people on a very unique and personalized basis, where the organization knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing and the communication and transparency is clear, and oftentimes as a result of that, the performance is enhanced. I'm using a word called democratization on this slide, and it's a big word, but really when you think about the definition of democratization, it's just the action of making something accessible to everyone. So as you're collecting all this data through these disparate systems, as we talked about on the slide before, it often requires a lot of manual intervention, sorting through the data, curating the data, repackaging it, redistributing it, and it takes time. It goes oftentimes to a limited number of people in an organization, and so you have a very delayed and I would even say stale or at least static output of information, not often with a lot of insights. Where we're starting to see AI really work, and we use it as our company, is how do we start driving those real-time insights at a personal level, individual level, with the information that actually allows them to act quickly and measure and monitor the result of those activities. What we've done at KPISOFT, and I'll spend just a couple of minutes and talk about our organization real quickly, is we've created a platform that can sit on top of any business's system. So irrespective of the ERP or the CRM or Excel spreadsheets or whatever, we have the ability to pull all this information across strategy and operations and people all into one platform and be able to present information and insights that are AI powered in a mobile and web-based environment. So back to those customer preferences that we said in the B2C world, we're starting to replicate a similar experience that we have in our individual lives now in the corporate world. Again, we talked about this chart around the spectrums of AI, from perception to notification, suggestion, all the way up to situational awareness. Imagine if you had your phone and an insight came through to you just like this, that had the visual dashboard or insight that you wanted to have, but then also had a text-like message, a contextual message that told you exactly what it said and possibly what to do with it. So thinking about perception and notification, prevention and recommendation, this is what our platform does. A little broader piece, we kind of do KPI reporting and monitoring, not only of individuals, but also, from the BI standpoint. And then we also use our platform as a collaboration site to help with problem solving, increasing transparency, allowing those notifications and alerts to be driven down throughout an organization. And again, as I said, on a personal level. So think about information that would be given to a salesperson versus a chief sales officer versus a CEO. It's all tethered to the same KPIs, but it's not all the same data. So it's very important that it's not all data for everyone, but that we have the right data for the right person to take the right actions, but all aligned against the goals and metrics that are set within your organization. A little bit further, just to kind of show you some screenshots, but we do performance scorecarding and team performance. So it's when you're doing root cause analysis, for example, or if you're really looking at the performance of your teams in your individuals, you'd be able to see how everyone's performing, how they're being measured, and more importantly, knowing that they're getting those insights to help drive them for better performance. I mentioned dashboards, very similar to what you see in your BI tools. We can replicate the same kind of visualization that you would have with regards to dashboards to allow you to do all the same work that you normally do. But again, as those dashboards and insights are being replicated, they're combined with that contextual insight messaging that really provides that perception, notification, prediction, and prevention to allow you to move faster and react quicker and accelerate your performance. So kind of jumping back to AI more for the business and the job impact, I wanted to show a couple of slides here that I personally think are very interesting. When we look at this slide, it's really looking at it both from an organizational level and a personal level, but really, you know, the survey was what do organizations and individuals think AI will do for them? As you can see here, you know, existing workers think that this will change their skill sets. Organizations' productivity will improve. What's very interesting is only 31% of the people that were surveyed fear that AI is going to take their job away from them. I think the real opportunity here is that as AI continues to evolve, the demands for the skill sets with this technology are going to start to change. It's not necessarily going to eliminate all the people in the organization, but it's definitely going to change the roles and responsibilities and the skill sets that you're going to look for. There'll be higher, more strategic, more value-added skill sets that you'll want because AI will be taking and has been taking a lot of the more replicatable exercises out and allowing you to invest more towards the higher end skill sets and talent that you want to drive into your organization. To that point, what jobs are going to be impacted most? As you can kind of see here, the basic functions like telemarketers, technical writers, machinists, pilots, as I mentioned earlier, they're all going to have you know, a pretty strong impact. So as AI continues to evolve itself, as we all go on our data journey, and we will start seeing these roles augment a lot. If you just think about online chatbots right now, any business that you do online today, probably about 70% of the interaction that you're having is not with a real person, but it's with a machine. And that's going to only increase. But as you go down a little bit deeper and you look at engineers, clergy, trainers, dentists, recreational therapists, things like EQ, choice, situation, sentiment, these are things that as humans we still do best. And so partnering with AI is really the key here. You know, there's arguments that AI will replace all of this, and we'll talk about it in a couple of minutes. But right now, as you can see here, the standardized functions are having the greatest impacts. But as we get more specialized, that impact is not nearly as great. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got this long runway that we're working on, and frankly, we have pioneers that are very evolved. So you look at the the Netflixes and the Googles and the Amazons and such like that. But then the majority of us, quite frankly, are maybe a little bit laggards or behind. And I argue that every company falls somewhere on a particular data journey. From the very low end or very novice side all the way up to the expert side. And so as you can kind of see here, the impact for both is very evident. If you're a pioneer, talent is a huge challenge for you, and oftentimes companies are looking out for third parties. If you're a laggard, you've got some real serious concerns around governance, leadership, budget. More importantly, how do you want to use this? And so it's not a one-size-fits-all. And as Steve mentioned earlier in the call, we do business with small to medium-sized businesses all the way up to the Fortune 500. And trust me, irrespective of size, they're all in various different points in their data journey. And so we work very closely to try to help them there. So I'm going to close with this and really kind of talk to you about myths that you might hear around AI. And I think for now, we should probably stop believing those myths. The first one is AI is going to replace all jobs. That's absolutely not true. It's going to replace a lot of certain jobs, but it certainly will not replace all. Only low-skilled and manual workers will be replaced. And I think what we saw about that impact over the last 20 years, that doesn't necessarily suggest that. So even the more higher level functions within organizations can be complemented and impacted by AI. Super intelligent computers will become better than humans in anything we can do. Not today. But they are getting smarter and will be able to help us more and more as we continue on this journey. Again, I don't believe AI will overtake and outpace human intelligence, and I don't think AI will lead to the destruction of the human race with super robotic beings. Now, there are those that did, and the late Stephen Hawking was a big prognosticator around this space, but I think I am safe in saying that everyone on this phone and your children and your children's children probably don't have to worry about this right now. So that's kind of an overview around AI, what's happening in the business and the marketplace. I'd probably leave you with this before questions that, AI itself, it's not meant to be your only decision-making process. It's really meant to be an additive source of information that'll help us all make better, faster, more intelligent, smarter decisions. So with that, I'll open up for any questions if anyone's interested.
Thank you so much, Jay. If you'd like to ask Jay a question, type it up in the question chat area, and I'll read those questions out loud. And with that, we do have a couple questions already in queue. The first one is from Atmaram. He said, great presentation on AI's background and future. With the explosive growth of big data, analytics, and predictive nature of AI, productivity and performance are clearly enhanced. However, personal and confidential information could be at risk, i.e. lost, misused, or compromised. Can you comment on the trade-offs between the benefits of AI, security issues, and privacy issues?
Yeah. So it's a great question, and I think I mentioned a few minutes back that governance is clearly a risk, and I don't think that with this new technology, we've really wrapped our hands around governance. irrespective of AI, our data is at risk every day. You think about everything that's going on with cybersecurity now, all the hacks that you're seeing and reading about, and probably have even been impacted by, are there. The cloud is becoming an increasingly more secure space, and when you look at companies like Amazon, they're investing literally billions of dollars every year just to protect the confidentiality and the security of the data. So I think we're getting better, but that risk is there. So I would hope that as we continue to evolve, a lot of the security and governance risks start to minimize themselves. But the person that asked the question, you're exactly correct on that.
Okay, thank you very much. How are businesses valuing AI?
I think that's different for each business, and it's kind of largely driven on kind of the maturity level that you are along that data journey or that continuum. I'll be frank with you, with a lot of customers that I speak to, they're very, very intrigued about AI, don't fully understand exactly how it works, and maybe that's important, maybe it's not important, but really not understanding what to do with it. And I'll tell you that technology is here, and it's expanding itself at such a rapid pace. If you're still doing business the way you were 5 years ago, you're at great risk. I would challenge that you're probably a legacy business. If you just look at the S&P alone, in the last 10 years, over 40% of the S&P doesn't even exist anymore. So while you don't have to be a leader, I think you have to get on the bus if you want to continue to drive your business forward and stay competitive in the marketplace.
Thank you. Here's another question. This sounds like it would be a large investment. How can smaller companies leverage AI and get the value from it?
Yep, great question. So a lot of tools, applications are now in a software as a service environment, and as a result, the pricing is much less. We're starting to see AI offerings for small businesses all the way up to large enterprises. Price points are not nearly as great, a fraction, if you will, of investments that you may make in putting in a large ERP or a global CRM or things of that effect. So, even with our platform, we're very, very affordably priced for the benefit and the value and the ROI that we give back. So I think you'll continue to see that price point maybe even start to lower itself over time, just like you see with technology. But right now, small businesses can easily get in and start finding ways to use technology, specifically AI-driven platforms and such, to help and augment their businesses at a very affordable price.
Thank you. The next question is from Hans, and he was wondering what the infrastructure requirements are as this evolves. Will it all be cloud-based, or will companies need to invest in infrastructure upgrades to deal with the volume of data which may be proprietary?
Yeah, great question. I think there's a continual argument, or maybe not an argument, I'd say it's a preference around on-premise versus cloud. Cloud continues to get better and better. The majority of large companies and small companies, frankly, if you were to do a survey, have most of their information sitting out on cloud. You also have some bifurcated approaches by companies where certain highly confidential or personalized information sits on-prem, and other information sits in the cloud. For me, it's kind of a company by company decision, because you have to look at what that IT stack is and the infrastructure that you have within your organization, the type of business that you work in, the type of information that you're using to really make that decision. But the tilt has been for the last couple of years and will continue to be more towards a cloud-based environment.
Thank you. And the next question, my data is in various forms and all over the place. What can I do?
I hear that a tremendous amount of time. You know, the notion of garbage in, garbage out is still kind of true. You know, data, bad data is probably going to give you bad answers, but it doesn't mean that all data is bad or it's all over the place. What we find and what we do with our platform, other companies do as well, is you recognize where a company is in that data journey again. Accept the data that's there, work with the clean data, if you will, while at the same time trying to improve the other data sets to where they become much more acceptable to be able to use, and the outputs from that data and the insights are more directionally correct.
Okay, thank you. I've got two more questions. The first one is, what are the barriers to adoption?
Great question. You know, for me, the big barriers start at the top of the house. So it's really everyone here on this call. I think you have to have a culture that will accept a technology like this being introduced into your organization. You have to go back to things like accountability and transparency to kind of support what you're trying to do. If you don't have a leader within the organization that's going to support this and own this, it's going to be a challenge. And then I would probably even take it up a notch and look to your board and say, does the board have in their strategy and decision-making processes the capability to get information around disruptive technologies like AI and such, and be able to help and support and drive management in a way to where they can start leveraging and using it.
Thank you. Robert McWilliams has a question. What effect will regulations like the EU's GDPR have on the adoption and evolution of AI?
Oh boy, that's a little bit out of my range, but I'll kind of go back again and say, governance, if you will, and regulation and governing bodies are trying to catch up very rapidly right now with the way these new technologies are being introduced, and clearly the use of information, the availability of information, and the governance of that is going to come under scrutiny with increased regulation. I don't think it's going to stop or change the direction. I think hopefully it's going to provide better clarity, reduce comfort and risk, and one outcome could be an acceleration of the technology and how it's being used. But again, I'm not an expert here, but that's a great question, and I'm happy to go get some further information from my colleagues and be able to respond back to you with a better answer.
Thank you so much. And I have one more question here. How can AI be used in the employment process?
Oh, fabulous. So, talent management, really the whole life cycle around talent management is very, very important to all of us. Who we hire, how quickly we hire, is it the right fit? Internally, thinking about our existing employees, how do we get them positioned properly, right fit, highest and best use? How do we manage things like the employee experience? We talk a lot about the customer experience, but we don't talk quite as much about the employee experience. AI is becoming very, very deeply entrenched in this space, and using modeling and machine learning and such to start accelerating the actions that go within that talent management value stream, from sourcing of candidates to selecting the proper candidates, to learning and development programs to advance the quality and capabilities and skill sets of existing employees, or even new employees for different positions, all the way to kind of predicting and preventative information and insights around, will this person stay? What's the probability of them advancing to the next role? staying within the organization or not. We're seeing this in platforms that companies have today, and it's only advancing itself. And this is a great, great space where we're seeing a lot of movement with AI and machine learning.
Thank you so much. Steve, that was the final question. Steve, you're on. Hi, Steve. Well, I don't hear you, so I guess maybe something happened to his audio. And with that, we tried it again and it's on, but I don't hear you, Steve. So I'm going to just say thank you very much to Jay. Appreciate your time. This was quite interesting. And the rest of the gang out there, we will see you back next month for the next webinar presentation. Again, Jay, thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.